What's happening, hardscapers? This is episode 327 of the How to Hardscape podcast, where we talk about how you can start and grow your hardscaping business. In today's episode, we have a live podcast episode. I've only done a handful of these throughout the lifetime of the How to Hardscape podcast, but whenever I do, it is always a treat. And we've got two back-to-back episodes for you this week and next week that were both in person. This is from the Knowledge Tree Consulting and Koivik event that I went to last week. Got to meet a lot of new people there, and in today's episode, we have Adam Anderson from Little Yukon Landscaping. You can find him at Little Yukon _landscaping on Instagram. And I have with me co-host Chuck from Down to Earth Landscaping. You've heard him a few times on the podcast before if you've listened to all the episodes. Both him and his partner Jeffrey from Down to Earth in Colorado have been on, and also on a roundtable rally. But this time, just Chuck joins us for this to help me co-host Adam here from Little Yukon. And then in next week's episode, I sit down with Chuck and do a one-on-one interview with him. But this is a great episode because Adam gets into first how he got started in the industry, as I always ask new guests that come on the show, and what brought him to where he is today. That's the first half of this interview, and then it gets real deep with a question that Chuck asks Adam in terms of his personal journey and how Adam takes care of himself. So definitely stay tuned for past the halfway point of this conversation because it gets really good. And if anything resonates with you here, be sure to message Adam at Little Yukon _landscaping on Instagram, just to let him know that you heard this episode, and if there's anything that you'd want to also just reach out to him about as well. But before we get into today's episode, we want to say thank you to our sponsors. Cycle CPA. If you're looking for bookkeeping, accounting, CFO services, reach out to Cycle CPA at cyclecpa.com. Let them know How to Hardscape sent you for money off their services there. Patio SEO has hopped on board as a sponsor, and they are a leading marketing and brand building company in the hardscape industry. And if you don't know, this company is run by James Reed. We've had him on the podcast a couple of times, some of our more popular episodes, and he owns hardscape businesses across the country. And now you can have access to the same in-house marketing team that he has access to at patioseo.com. So if you're looking for a killer website, targeted ads, or data-driven strategies to grow, check them out at patioseo.com. If you're planning to go to Hardscape North America in Louisville, Kentucky, October 22nd to the 24th, you can use promo code VIPHTH to sign up, get 50% off your registration. That also gives us a little bit of a kickback and helps us here at the How to Hardscape podcast. And Knowledge Tree Consulting. George and Peter there are efficiency consultants in our industry, and I've had the privilege of having them both on one episode of the How to Hardscape podcast, and George multiple other times. Always great episodes, and I also got to sit down on a one-on-one with George and went through what they do for businesses, and I left that meeting with a lot of value, so I can't recommend them enough. If you want to learn more about what they do, go to knowledgetreeconsulting.com and get that conversation started with them today. And without further ado, let's get into today's episode. Today we're joined by Adam Anderson of Little Yukon Landscaping, Minnesota. Adam, you've come all this way to Toronto. Thanks for joining me on the podcast.
Yes, thank you for having me.
I made it sound like you came all the way to Toronto just to be on my podcast, but that's not the case.
Well, maybe it was, and we just got here a roundabout way.
Absolutely. And today, for I think probably the first time, I've got a co-host, Chuck from Down to Earth Landscaping. Chuck, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. This is cool.
And you two both came down for the Knowledge Tree Consulting Koivik event. That was an awesome event, so that's why actually they are both here and joining me. They didn't make this trip all the way just to see me and do the podcast, but Adam, I thought we'd get started because this is the first time you've been on our podcast. So Chuck and I will interview you as co-hosts here and get to know a little bit more about you, yourself, how you got started in the industry. Do you want to give us a little bit of backstory about that and what brought you to actually starting Little Yukon?
Yes, of course. First of all, make sure you give me space and grace and be kind, guys. So, no, in regards to how and why I'm even here today, so to speak, is basically fifth and sixth generation in and around the business. So it's kind of in the blood. But my parents ultimately moved away from the area that my grandparents had their landscape greenhouse nursery operation up into the kind of north woods of Minnesota. And then they established an annual bedding flower greenhouse where they produced annual bedding flowers for Kmart's, Walmart's, Pomidas in a 7-state region, and kind of wholesale annual bedding flower mass production facility. In that business, you grow the flowers, and then around Mother's Day, if it's still in the greenhouse, you have problems. And so most of our production and stuff was done at that point. But what did coincide was landscaping. And then we're in kind of vacation land where a lot of people from Minneapolis and Iowa or Chicago area would come and vacation in the summers. And so in the late 80s, early 90s, it started to really develop in that sense where they were pulling down Grandpa and Grandma's old cabin and building new. And so we had this massive labor force of upwards of 100 people in the greenhouse to produce these flowers. And then it was kind of how and what to do with them, as well as a natural fit. And so we did that as well. And so gradually grew that as both businesses and markets developed, because in the 60s, 70s, Red Owls and hardware stores and things started adding on these little nursery divisions onto their businesses. And so my parents saw that opportunity, kind of chased and followed that, grew into that operation I told you about. And then same as the lake homes developed in the Brainerd Lakes area, and on primarily 2 different chains of lakes for many people as vacation secondary homes primarily. Then I myself basically grew up 8 children in the family, so very large. We were upper or middle management of my parents' operation, kind of a kingpin-y type operation, old school, in the sense that everything went through my father and stuff like that. We all had independent interests and desires as well, and so we'd go off to school or do different things, university. Most of us all came back and tried to do it, but it was hard to make that transition from generation as well. And then, of course, you inevitably meet people, and they have their interests as well. And so some of us kind of tried and went and did our other things, or like me, even in particular, I was like, I'm never going to do that. I don't want to do that. I'm going to try to be a businessman and do business like marketing and things like that. And one of my passions was psychology. I thought kind of sales and stuff. And so that's what I went to university for. And I did quite well in that area. But then I ended up taking a break from the place I was at and came back to the area. And it just coincided with spring or summer. Became a bartender and server. Did that for a number of years. Had tons of fun, met tons of people, and in and around the lakes, of course. That's where the resorts and stuff were that I was working at. And then I traveled the world in the winter months with the funds I ended up accumulating by taking on these side jobs, landscaping, because it's something I knew how to do. And started doing. It was independent from my parents' operation and stuff, but kind of facilitated that lifestyle for a little while. At that same kind of timing, basically, brothers and sisters kind of all went and did their own things, and in kind of the business started to close up a little on my parents' side. Just they couldn't manage and keep up with things without all that knowledgeable help running the teams and things. So, and then in the wholesale annual bedding flower company, the market was kind of sneaking away in the sense that a lot of stuff was becoming automated and a little bit different gig, and it was kind of a labor of love as opposed to a more easy money maker type of thing. So again, the parents' business kind of was closing up, but through the landscape operation, we're custom build high-end residential lake home company, and so you'd basically try to figure out how to do anything for everyone's needs to get the job done or to take care of them in whatever fashion. And that was from creating steel troughs to put sand or rocks or anything down 100-foot hills to the bottom of the lake or to the shoreline, or basically fabricating things and stuff like that. And one of the things is innovating skid steer attachments or whatever tools you needed to get the job done. And so in that process, my father ended up getting some patents on some equipment attachments as well. And so through my university time, it kind of worked excellent in the sense that I was doing these marketing programs and stuff, being educated on how to do strategic marketing stuff. And we ended up taking those equipment attachments to the national market and doing trade shows, and then literally hitting the pavement selling skid steer attachments and stuff. And that was something that my father could operate and run that business with a little bit more of a skeleton team of skilled salesmen and stuff like that, including a couple of us children still. It was awesome because of the experiences I got through that myself personally, but then again, that kind of brings me back to doing the professional experiences in the marketing, and then ultimately ending up back in the Brainerd Lakes area and picking up landscape jobs on the side and figuring out who and what I was and what I really truly wanted to do and why in the world I wanted to do it, so to speak. And was a beautiful journey in that sense, and by being able to travel around and see how other people do it and the good, bads, and uglies, and it many times seems like the grass is greener in other places, and it is. And then you go there and you recognize that there's brown patches and things as well, and really makes you start to love and appreciate just what you have. And so that brings me to basically incorporating independent from my parents' operation, thinking to do the landscaping business again. And then actually there's this internal kind of built into me thing as far as family business and all this kind of stuff. And so that was obviously taught to us. And so I went to my brothers and that were kind of doing same or similar, but still not really part of my parents' stuff, and said, man, I don't want to be 60, 70 and say coulda, shoulda, woulda. And so we all tried to do that, or kind of grouped up together. We sat in the round table and decided that the family business name still had equity, and the point of putting that as the name or the face of our company, and let's try this thing. And so that's what we did. And we were young. We were really good at doing things and the technical aspects of stuff, and on a very big scale, working with my parents and stuff. Or I should say a big scale. Everything's relative these days with some of the operations that some of these guys have. But thought idealistically things would be super easy. Well, it was 2008, 2009 when kind of tied this in, and of course that was terrible economic times in America. And so long story short, as you take your last $1,000 and put it into marketing and hopes and dreams and a heck of a lot of sweat and blood, and start clawing your way back. And because there was about 7 years of my dad's business and mother's business kind of closing up the doors, you lose your relevancy in the market, especially in a market where people are buying, selling homes or retiring or passing away or things like that. And so, and then other people get very good at what they're doing as well. And so, you basically start from scratch. And so that was kind of the experience. And then along with the economic times and super awesome, amazing, great stuff. And the biggest things and takeaways from that kind of stuff is you learn how to operate lean and be creative and try to set yourself out in situations where it's not all green pastures and super easy, good times. But at the same point, it's a big process. And then one of my brothers ended up having a child during that first 3-4 years, and needed to get an apartment to kind of have a proper space to raise the child and stuff. And we weren't there to be able to afford. So he had to move on. Another brother, kind of similar type of a situation eventually, a couple years later, but just keep plugging forward and gradually kind of figuring things out. And then, like I said, we were really good at the doing part, and my father used to do a lot of the sales and kind of managing of the stuff, and my mom helped do the books. And so didn't really have a lot of those skills, even though went to the university to learn stuff that's still in kind of somewhat of a non-practical aspect, but this was real life, and then a different situation that way. And so you're gradually learning and trying to figure out how to stretch your pennies and stuff, but seeing the momentum, feeling the momentum, getting to meet and meet a lot of cool people and meet the needs that they have. And then same with being able to look to and rely on other people to help make that happen too, and gradually meet and find them throughout the process. But and then now ended up purchasing some property on a major freeway, and starting to get a really good system together as far as trucks, trailers, equipment, a proper office, and kind of divided things up into design it, silo, build silo. We do supply landscape materials and things, have a nursery aspect of it, and kind of start to clean up our act, because in the beginning, you're trying to, part of the family legacy is there never was any trash. You take that and you turn it into cash, and if you didn't turn it into cash, it fills the back hole on the back parking lot type thing. And so there's a lot of beautiful stuff in that. But then as I get a little bit older and wiser, or just different steps in the evolution of both life and business, you start to recognize the good and bad about that kind of an approach as well, and how you need to be able to be flexible, moldable to that as you build and grow through the various phases of both personal and business life cycles. And then in that sense, even found quite a personal journey of tons of work and how that affects personal relationships and different things like that. And so I kind of refer to it like a highway, where you take these little detours every so often and then get back up on that road approach to hit the highway again type deal. And it's super easy to get those blinders on, or the mud on the windshield, and hit those detours, so to speak, in this whole process. And then staying positive and or trying to pull yourself back to have general awareness to a lot of this as you're going through it is huge stuff. And I've learned through both people in and around me helping to pound hammers on my head to remind me how and why, as well as a lot of good self-reflection to be able to attempt to have awareness, and then recognize each time you think you got it on lockdown, you're probably further away from that than you think, and to kind of keep grounded or footed. And then it seems like that's helped to bring positiveness and goodness in and around how and what we got going on as well. And then having those fresh people, or even like you said in the beginning, putting yourself out there to other people, being vulnerable, and or at least open and positive to see how and what everybody else is doing, or other people are, and respect their varied approaches and maybe find little nuances and things that may help you on that journey is amazing and great. And it helps you, again, on the personal level and the business level to find your authentic being, as well as your authentic messages or way of processing your own business. And so like the experience here with Kovic or KTC Consulting and George over there, and then, man, even you guys or all the other people personally even interacted in, it's just be a sponge to all that kind of stuff, and to be in and around is just, to me, that's kind of part of what life is all about as humans, as well as, man, if you want to be a good business person, man or girl, just be open and positive to that kind of stuff, and try to live your everyday like that, and kind of check yourself, as well as be open is awesome, great stuff. And then always give yourself the space and grace, to maybe not be where you think you want to be mentally, or if and when you come across hiccups and things like that, to flip it and reverse it if you have to. And then, by God, always don't be afraid to be vulnerable, to share and recognize that, man, we put these fronts up or edges up to be competitive or to protect ourselves and stuff. But we're all kind of many times going through the same journey or process, especially like these people and groups and companies and things that I've been meeting through my journey. Just like I suggested, that the experiences that we're going through, it's not just us by ourselves. We're all doing this, and we also need to take the time to recognize, be vulnerable, and see that, hey, this is a concerted, shared thing we're doing, and yeah, we think we're competitors maybe, but we're really not. It's us that we should be in competition with, and check ourselves against everybody else, to just be bringing our greatness out every day, in whatever way that might be. So that's kind of who and what we are, and kind of a foundation.
We want to take a break from today's episode to thank our sponsor, Cycle CPA. It's crucial to review your financial statements on a monthly basis so you can diagnose areas for improving your business's financial health early, before they become significant issues. Too many contractors wait until the end of the year to review their financials as they file taxes, when it's often too late to take action to change the outcome. Cycle CPA not only handles bookkeeping and taxes, but they also ensure that you're armed with financial data on a monthly basis to make key business decisions. They offer benchmarking, cash flow forecasting, and assistance in developing targets for financial metrics. With their team of accountants specialized in the hardscape and landscape industry, they currently work with hundreds of companies in this field. Visit cyclecpa.com, and for $200 off, mention the How to Hardscape podcast. Now back to our episode. We want to take a break from today's episode to talk about marketing. Are you looking to take your hardscape business to the next level? Well, this is brought to you by Patio SEO, the leading marketing and brand building company in the hardscape industry. And if you don't know, this company is run by James Reed, who owns multiple hardscape businesses across the country. And here's the kicker. You're not just getting access to any team. You're getting access to the very team that helped grow James's own companies, plus hundreds of others in the industry. Whether you need a killer website, targeted ads, or data-driven strategies to grow, Patio SEO has got you covered. They've been in your shoes and know exactly what works. We've had James Reed on the podcast a couple of times, and there's some of our more popular episodes, talking about branding, talking about how he's built companies across the country. And with that, he needs lots of leads, which means he's had to perfect his branding and marketing. And now you can have access to that same in-house team that he has access to for his own hardscape company. So if you're ready to build your brand and see some serious growth, check them out at patioseo.com. That's patioseo.com, or follow James on Instagram at Road to 100Ms. That's Road to 100MS. Let's get your business the attention it deserves. Now back to the episode. I've got lots of questions, Chuck. Do you have?
I also have lots of questions. Yeah. Um, yeah, Adam, it's been really cool to meet you this weekend. Your story is really, really interesting, and there's so much history rooted there. Um, you mentioned the personal journey piece of this, right? We kind of talked about this last night and how important that is for us going through this challenging business. Like, we always want action items to solve problems, right? Like, I think that the personal journey is what we all struggle with a little bit. Like, if you could or would be willing to share like a couple of those actionable items, maybe not going into, super in depth, but what are the things that are working for you? What are you doing on a daily or weekly business to take care of yourself?
Sure. Man, that could be a very deep conversation or question. And then, just like I mentioned, when you think you got it all figured out, that might be the time I gotta reassess and find out if I'm really right in saying what that is. But I think one of the biggest parts of my journey, first of all, I'm super grateful for all the good, bad, and ugly that have happened all along, and I can certainly share a heck of a lot of both of those with you. And these are real life type situations that you just want to cry type stuff many times, or pound on something or whatever it might be, right? We all have our own ways. But I think the biggest thing in it is kind of like I alluded or said in that process about, and it's living life each day as you go the best you possibly can, and then also recognizing and seeing that you are actually doing that, and give yourself a hug and love and appreciate who and what that is, to be able to do that. Because at least for me, I'm like quasi-perfectionist, push myself. I was raised in a family that it's go, 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 work 19 hours a day, 2 days off a year, and we go to our lake home and, clean the beach and stuff. And it's work. You don't have time to take times off to come to Toronto and meet people like yourselves or whatever. We've got stuff to do. And it's super easy to, like I said, get mud on your windshield and lose productivity and things by that kind of process. And so, for me, it's that. And I guess the center of that is you can't be great for someone else if you're not great for yourself. And you better clean some stuff up inside, and or be aware of it and realize that it's a journey, it's a process. And man, every single 1% or every single tiny little piece of sand you can wipe off of that windshield is a step forward. And even if you get splattered again with a chunk of mud tomorrow, wipe that off and you're good. And just keep pushing forward and you will succeed. And so I think it's that part. Number one is you got to start with, or try to fix and work on a core simultaneously. But like, if it's like I tell our team as well, is like, if you do good, the goodness is going to come. Like it's a byproduct. Like just help yourself, find out how and why you're doing it. Ask your why. Do it 5 times. Like work on stuff. Why do I get triggered? Why do I feel this way? Why in the world am I doing what I'm doing? Why am I doing the doing? And then that helps your being be. And then once you've got that like basic fundamental of, know thyself type conversation, it makes everything else so much easier. And I say that again and reminding that I haven't got it all figured out, and every single moment is a check yourself type moment too. It's like you can be rocking for a little while and then just dial it back and say, oh man, today was a little bit tough or whatever. And so I think it's recognizing, seeing, feeling how that part is, and doing your best to peel that onion back, get to some of those things that are triggering and you need to work on. And that even is on the conversation of like your skill sets and things like that. It's no different. It's just keep slowly polishing, cleaning the mud off that windshield, pull yourself back up onto the freeway and move forward. And then don't be afraid to back off on the brakes a moment and say, why am I doing this again? Or yeah, that's right. And kind of keep that stuff in alignment. And I feel like, there's a lot of consultants and people and things that try to help to do those various processes, and some focus on certain areas of that very, very hard. And then some on the overall general, and we all need to find our own way, and it's very different for different people, how and what triggers to be able to do the various things. But I think for me, at least, that's been a very important thing. And for me, I found myself with more mud on my windshield than I needed or wanted, even in the last 4 years. And so my process was, and a lot of this was help from the people around me, the ones I love the most, that I was hurting through the process of thinking I knew what I wanted and being so damn focused on that the mud just built up tiny little layers and stuff, right? And so it was kind of figuring that out and cleaning that away, and then being recognizing and seeing, no, I gotta kind of work here and there. And for me, it was, I quit drinking. I found a lot of goodness there. I mean, literally the cells in my body felt more alive and better. My energy level went up, and part of it was because I'd do it over the weekend or whatever, and then come to work the next week. And I'm 47 years old, and I'm not getting any younger, but I found my mind a little bit more foggy and stuff, and so I didn't feel I was quite on point, and so I dialed that completely out. I wanted to see what it felt like, so I hit pause. I just wanted to see for 3 days or 2 days and 7 days, and that just came into one. And then I physically felt better. I physically looked better. I started going to the gym. We had some big paver brick jobs that summer, and so I literally went to the gym and practiced like I was picking paver bricks up, because I wanted to keep in shape so I didn't get my butt kicked in spring. And so I'm not kidding. I sat there in the gym reenacting that process, and then one thing led to the next, and before I know it, I'm in 2 different yoga classes, one being sculpt yoga, and taking cycle classes and lifting free weights 3 days a week with a personal trainer, and doing 20 minutes of sauna every day. And little did I know, through those little tiny baby steps to even get to that process, or this whole process in general, my mind was clearing out, my body was clearing out, and I believe I've been becoming a better human, and even as a byproduct, a better business owner operator. And then even the purpose and motives behind what I was doing started to change or become more clear, in the sense that we don't even consider ourselves landscapers. We consider ourselves joy creators, fun makers. We want more being than doing, in the sense of, this is what we're really bringing to the people that are awesome and amazing, that we're creating these spaces for, so that they can have that awesome and amazing beauty in their lives, whether it's grandparents and various generations, having campfires together and things like that. It's those true emotional and connection type moments. And that's kind of maybe the whole center premise of what I'm trying to say here too, is at least how it pertained to me, it's clean up that center, that core, start to build out from it, give yourself the space and grace, and by God, love and care for everyone around you, and don't be afraid to be vulnerable. And it's amazing how much they open up and help you do it and want to see you succeed as well, even if it's the competitor right down the door, or right down the street, because ultimately we're not really in competition. We're all in this together for that same kind of reason and process. And it's about making better and more live humans in this world, and doing it through our medium, that being the dirt, the clay, the bricks, the concrete, whatever we're doing through, to be able to have that message brought through and to share them beautiful connections, if that makes sense. And so I think, heck of a long-winded way, but that's hopefully some action points, bullet points in there, is work on yourself, know yourself, ask why, get to work, give yourself space and grace, but don't be a pussy and get to work, and give yourself space and grace, and love and appreciate everybody around you, and check yourself, be a good human, and the universe will provide back to you. God will provide back to you. Whoever and whatever you believe in will be awesome and great in that sense.
Hey, are you planning to attend HNA Hardscape North America, October 22nd to the 24th in Louisville, Kentucky? Well, you can use our promo code VIPHTH to get 50% off your tickets, or you can click the link in the show notes below to register for this. I've gone the past 2 years. It is awesome. A massive trade show along with the Equip Exposition with more than 1,000 exhibits, 42,000 square feet hardscape house, as well as a 30-plus acre outdoor demo yard that you can demo equipment. There's the HNA Awards ceremony. There's lots of educational sessions throughout the day, and there's more than enough events before and after the trade show itself. I've always enjoyed my time. I'll see you there. Use the code VIPHTH to get 50% off your tickets and register sooner rather than later, because tickets do increase leading up to the show. We want to take a break from today's episode to thank our sponsor, Knowledge Tree Consulting. They are efficiency consultants in the industry with 35 plus years of industry experience building Oriole landscaping in Toronto, which they are completely hands off at this point. George and Peter have been on the podcast before, and George on multiple occasions now. I've personally leaned on him to help with the How to Hardscape headquarters software and how we can maximize the efficiency of user experience. And I know the guys at DTE Landscaping, Chuck and Jeffrey, who we've also had on the show multiple times, have hired them on in the past. Check out their consulting services, peer groups, and events that are coming up on their website, knowledgetreeconsulting.com, or check them out on Instagram at joinktc. Now back to our episode. What was the point that you realized, and you don't have to get to feel free to go as deep as you want or not touch on points and stuff, but what was the point to which you knew you needed to, quit drinking, start working on yourself? Was it gradual, or was it all at once that you realized this?
No, I think it's a general gradual thing, because if you're an aware person, and I don't even mean aware of all the nuances in your own body and how and what that means, or to various levels, but it's if you're aware enough to recognize, man, this shouldn't be this hard, or like I'm going upstream here and I'm pushing so hard, like it shouldn't be this way. Maybe it is, or take a moment to just pause and consider, should I flip it and reverse it, or do I need to rework something, or which piece of it is? And then realize too that it's not necessarily the whole darn thing that can get reconstructed and done. Maybe we can work on areas. And so basically I found or felt that, as well as my own personal relationship with the mother of my son was a big catalyst, in the sense that certainly that starts to change when you're putting in all these hours and people in and around you. And I'm not making up emotions for them necessarily, but it's if you're putting all your attention and love in your baby, the thing that you're creating, what do you think the people in and around begin to feel about their own selves, or the value that they feel that they carry in your world? And that's even with the employees, or anyone else that's helping, or you're looking to create this together, is that inevitably when that starts kind of chafing against how and what you're doing, it might be a time to pause and take a look. And so that was basically how and what I found myself in, is that kind of a situation. It was like, man, and then also physically you start to carry and the anxieties, the stressors, your body senses and feels, your energy levels are lower or whatever. And that's why I was saying the cells in your body. And so that's when all of a sudden it's like, wait a minute, it's one thing for that person or that business or my partner or whatever to be sitting there telling me these things. but my own body's trying to tell me this, like, and I keep shoving against it. I keep working through it, but I am only human, and I need to back off a little bit and then try to figure out how and what do I need to tweak and flip and reverse to make this actually kind of work type of deal. And maybe some of these people are right, and so, and it was that kind of conversation, and quit pointing the finger and point the finger at myself and say, hey, you know what? All these people may be wrong, but I don't even know unless I first start with myself and kind of make sure and work on a few things, and then through that process kind of recognize and see that even if they are, I got to love and appreciate them that way. And then maybe I was wrong in other areas as well, or the whole situation was wrong because we should never have approached it that way type of deal. And so that is just an overwhelming sense, feeling, body screaming at you, people screaming at you, whatever type situation.
And then how long ago did that happen? That change happen? How many years are we talking?
Oh, I think the reality is I incorporated in 2008 myself. And then I reached out to my brothers and them in 2009, 10 type of deal. I think 2015, 2014, like all through that process, you have various people and things that obviously if you're putting in crazy hours and stuff like that, stuff bubbles up and conversations are had and whatever, and then you get to critical mass, and at some point it's like, you start losing people or whatever. And so I think technically the whole process was happening all along, and whether you allowed it to enter into your, at anything cost type push to wherever you feel you've set that goal line or whatever, it's that kind of a situation. So I think technically it was there all along. I think maybe 5-6 years ago it culminated to the primary point where it was I personally just didn't have any other opportunity other than to face it and understand and become aware of it, both because again, to the credit of my partner, and even though not always see eye to eye type stuff or necessarily agree on how and what, love to death, because helped to put me into a different state of mind and to check that would have been 4 or 5 years ago when I began that journey. And I began that journey kind of all by myself in a way, because I started recognizing and seeing. And can I just quick say one thing too, is even guys like yourself or women that are doing podcasts, the YouTube, various things, I do want to say, and anyone listening, is what a resource. You people take advantage of that stuff, because I have literally created a massive library of it. And then how and what we do, we have so much time in the machines, the trucks, the whatevers, to sit and listen and learn from people that are much wiser than us. And it's, you follow that little canal to how and where it takes you to find and figure out how to peel your onion, or to gain a skill or whatever, because my goodness, what you all are doing by doing this kind of stuff, it's changing lives, and it's changed my life. And that is part of how and why I can even sit here and say any of this stuff, and maybe it resonates with someone, and maybe it has some credibility.
Well, it's definitely resonated with me. Chuck, do you have any other quick question, or should we let Adam get to his?
Yeah, we better let him get to his massage.
I feel like I've been making everybody late to their things today. First Caleb with his flight, now Adam to your massage. So Adam, where do you want to send our audience to? That was awesome. I really appreciate how open and honest you were there. Where do you want to send our audience to learn more about you, the company, anywhere that they can go to find out more about you?
Hey, can I say one quick thing? I'll do it quick as I can. You apologize for making me late. No, it's my fault I made it late. I'm the one that sat and talked because I felt and believed that there's something here I was expressing, and it's obviously something I needed to talk about. And then that's even part of this journey and this story, is take responsibility. It's a lot of people talk about radical responsibility, or no, I think it's just responsibility. Take responsibility for how the way you feel, how and what you act like. If you talk too much or whatever, just own up to it and then recognize it, space and grace, and just work on it a little, if anything. And so it's not you, it's me. I ran it long. I appreciate for the generosity, the kindness, whatever, but I take full responsibility, and I think we all need to. And you'll see a big flip in your world if you do that. Please clarify what you said again.
Anywhere that you want to send our audience to learn more about Little Yukon, yourself, anything that you want to, where can they find out more about you or the business?
You know what? We're Nisswa, Minnesota, Brainerd, Minnesota. You're more than welcome to come by our retail location or our offices. We're obvious right off the freeway, 4805 Ojibwa Road. Brainerd Lakes area, amazing, beautiful place. Spend your summers and vacation, and by God, come and buy a lake home and then hire Little Yukon to take care of it. And then I think anywhere, go online, take a peek, look at this beautiful podcast that you're listening to right now. Reach out to KTC Consulting and George over there to learn something and at least hear out people. Open yourself to going to trade shows and seminars and stuff, even if it's not your gig. Just open it. I can tell you one thing: when I joined the gym, it was tough enough just to walk in the door because it wasn't kind of my jam, and then it became my jam. And then same thing with doing cycle class type of stuff. It's like, oh my God. But if you don't stand on the precipice of pure fear and that kind of stuff and just kind of lean over and do a little bit of that, you're not finding the growth piece in the process. And so I'd say that, and whatever that means to you, whether it's YouTube or whether it's paying big bucks for things, just be a sponge and go take a look. Those are a lot of the resources I've found. Other people that have been through it, or even just older people that are retired, or anything that you might glean a little bit of wisdom and learn it experience for, I think are great resources. The team at Kovic was awesome. Don't be afraid to reach out and see what they've got going on. If you're in and around the Toronto area, go take a look at their beautiful facility, purchase some materials and gorgeous plants, like trade shows, conventions, things like that. Yeah, depends on if it's personal or business, I suppose.
Yeah. Adam, thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, thank you guys very much. I very much appreciate it.
And thank you, Chuck, for co-hosting with me.
Yeah, it's great to be here. Toronto's awesome. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you for listening to today's podcast episode. Like I said, go check out Little Yukon _landscaping on Instagram. Send Adam a message if you feel something has resonated with you from this episode. And thank you to Chuck from DTE Landscaping. You can follow him and Jeffrey at DTE Landscaping Co. on Instagram. And like I said, next week's episode will be me and Chuck sitting down one-on-one for a conversation to catch up. And thank you to Knowledge Tree Consulting for putting on that amazing event, and Koivik for hosting. And thank you to Koivik for letting us tour around a bunch of their job sites. That was me and Chuck and Adam, who you listened to on this episode, as well as Caleb from Third Space KC, just touring a few of their different job sites on a Friday. Very thankful that they were willing to do that for us and to see the beautiful work that they're putting into the ground. And before we leave you, I want to say thank you one more time to our sponsors. Cycle CPA. If you're looking for bookkeeping, accounting, CFO services, reach out to Cycle CPA at cyclecpa.com. Let them know How to Hardscape sent you for money off their services there. PatioSEO.com. And now you know Patio SEO can take your hardscape business to the next level. James Reed and his expert team have built a reputation on success, not just for their own companies, but for hundreds of others just like yours. So don't wait. Visit patioseo.com to learn more and get started. But also be sure to follow James's journey on Instagram at Road to 100 M's. That's Road to 100 MS for behind the scenes tips and insights. And I do recommend checking that out and following along to that. Ready to build your brand? Patio SEO is here to help you every step of the way. If you're planning to go to Hardscape North America in Louisville, Kentucky, October 22nd to the 24th, you can use promo code VIPHTH to sign up, get 50% off your registration. That also gives us a little bit of a kickback and helps us here at the How to Hardscape podcast. And Knowledge Tree Consulting. George and Peter there are efficiency consultants in our industry, and I've had the privilege of having them both on one episode of the How to Hardscape podcast, and George multiple other times. Always great episodes, and I also got to sit down on a one-on-one with George and went through what they do for businesses, and I left that meeting with a lot of value, so I can't recommend them enough. If you want to learn more about what they do, go to knowledgetreeconsulting.com and get that conversation started with them today. And we look forward to meeting you next week on the How to Hardscape podcast.